In order to obtain the long-coveted female, he broke the limbs of the girls to males. The black mamba endured the suffering of daily whippings, had its snake skin peeled off, and its snake bones dug out. Finally, it was forced to consume an aphrodisiac that stirred its beastly desires, making it disgrace itself before the girl. Yet even without reason, he never dared to overstep Yu's boundaries in the slightest, because he felt unworthy of her, and thus would defile her. Unaware that his beloved female had long been utterly defeated, clutching him tightly without regard for anything else. Indulge in everything that happens next. This day, a massive roaring sound came from the garbage dump. A giant starship slowly descended. When the dragon serpent emblem became clearly visible, Yuli's nerves instantly tightened. I'll go hold him off. You escape or hide. He lightly squeezed Nyan hand as a final memento. However, Nyan stopped him, not allowing him to go to his death. Quickly transform into your beast form. I'll take you away with me. At that moment, Long Zhao's figure flickered and appeared like a ghost, thinking of going where? If you run away one more time, I will blow up this planet. As the words fell, Nyan froze in place. Long Zhao then gave a sinister smile. He knew Nyan could not possibly allow so many innocent people to die for her. Just as he reached out to touch Nyan, the black wolf fiercely pounced towards him like a sharp blade. Long Zhao agilely dodged aside, but following that came Yuli's attack as well. Two troublesome S-grade males combined caused Long Zhao a great deal of trouble. But a fanatical fighting spirit flickered in his eyes. If it were any other S-grade female, they would have no ability to fight back before him. The fact that the Black Wolf and Yuli could restrain him were truly rare opponents. The battle continued to intensify. Long Zhao seized an opportunity to heavily strike Yuli to the ground. And then the Black Wolf also gradually fell into a disadvantage. But Long Zhao discovered the males on this trash planet were actually more troublesome than he had imagined. Even with every bone in his body shattered inch by inch, he could still tenaciously fight him relentlessly, till his head suffered a heavy blow. Black Wolf finally staggered and fell to the ground. Long Zhao's body was also covered in wounds, but he didn't care at all. Step by step, he walked towards the bloody, unfamiliar aura. Made Nyan feel fear. His distinct, bony hand slowly caressed her cheek. At this moment, Black Wolf on the ground glared with eyes wide in fury, roaring, "Don't touch her!" Under intense stimulation, he spat out a mouthful of blood. Gradually, his consciousness actually began to blur, as if countless long-sealed memories were continuously emerging from the depths of his mind. The frightened, famous inhabitants of the trash planet, fearing Black Wolf would be killed, disregarded the danger and surrounded him protectively in the middle. However, Long Zhao didn't spare the loser another glance. He carried Nyan in his arms and boarded the starship. Before leaving, he ordered his subordinates to bring Black Mamba along, and pointed at the corpses nearby. How do you like it? Those two guys who held malicious thoughts towards Nyan are already completely dead. But Nyan didn't know anything that had happened on the ship. She only felt that Long Zhao was giving her a blatant threat, seeing her remain silent all along. A flicker of displeasure flashed in Long Zhao's eyes. He pinched Nyan's chin, forcing her to look up. If you make me angry, I'll have the Black Mamba bear the consequences for you. Feeling her continuous trembling, Long Zhao looked at her thoughtfully. As long as you behave obediently, I won't take his life. But what he didn't say was, for a space pirate, there are many ways to torture someone. Nyan was arranged to stay in a newly built luxurious lounge on the ship. After a long, exhausting day, Nyan was somewhat unable to hold on. Carrying worries for Yuli and Black Wolf, she fell into a heavy, drowsy sleep. She didn't know how much time had passed when cold scales slowly slid over her body. Nyan only felt her body being wrapped by some heavy object. The next second, her eyes snapped open when she clearly saw the crimson giant python on her. Her heart instantly pounded wildly in fright. Seeing Nyan awake, the giant python tilted its head to look at her. Nyan was in a state of mental short-circuit, and without thinking, she raised her hand to push it away. Only after acting did she come to her senses. Considering Yuli's personal safety, she hypocritically lowered her head and apologized. Long Zhao did not respond, but shamelessly pressed close again. Nyan was momentarily wrapped so tightly she couldn't breathe, to the point her face turned crimson. Seeing this, the giant python, as if electrocuted, slunk away from her body. Then it curled up into a ball on the floor, as if feeling guilty for doing something wrong. At this moment, Nyan carefully examined the giant serpent. Crimson scales covered its entire body. Its eyes were also red. It looked enchanting and beautiful. Driven by a desire for revenge, Nyan got off the bed and deliberately stepped heavily on it. However, the giant serpent showed no intention of dodging, nor did it retaliate. With an honest and simple appearance, it was completely different from the dragon serpent in Nyan's memory. She scanned the thick black mist surrounding the giant serpent, wondering if this creature might be out of control. She wanted to seize the chance to escape, but didn't know where to go to find Yili, and moreover, it might anger the dragon serpent, leading to the destruction of the planet where the black wolf was. In the end, after much hesitation, Nyan still summoned her spiritual body. Under the halo of spiritual soothing, the black mist around the giant serpent gradually dissipated. At this moment, the dragon serpent's expression suddenly changed, staring blankly at the little female in front of him, wondering why Nyan would save him. But he did not speak. Instead, he pretended to still be out of control, pressing close to Nyan's body. Observing her expression, Nyan showed no trace of fear or disgust, as the dragon serpent had imagined. But after the previous experience of being entangled and unable to breathe, she did not want to indulge the giant serpent pressing against her like this. So she began to scold it without hesitation, telling it not to move. Behave yourself. He was astonished to see the giant serpent transform into human form. Then it leaned down and pressed toward her. Nyan looked shocked. When did he recover? Longzhou's blood-red eyes were dark and obscure, gently pressing him down onto the bed. I listened to you. What reward will there be? How about rewarding me? Also using scales to make a set of jewelry for you to wear. How about it? He had been secretly watching all along. Nyan naturally knew. Previously, Nanli used scales to make jewelry for her. He couldn't help but feel a trace of wild thoughts. However, Nyan pursed her lips and remained silent, clearly a posture of refusal. Longzhou's expression gradually turned ugly. Do you despise my scales that much? You certainly don't despise the Black Mamba's scales, do you? Then I'll strip off his scales and make them into jewelry. Hearing this, Nyan was greatly alarmed, her voice trembling, saying, No, I'll wear your scales. Faced with the compromising little female, Longzhou instead grew even more furious. Do you like the Black Mamba that much? A poor and destitute male, now even reduced to a wanted criminal of the empire. What is worth it at all? For Nyan to go to such lengths, it was because the Black Mamba desperately protected her. But now, he clearly doesn't even have the ability to protect her anymore. Thinking of this, he couldn't help but let out a cold laugh. He wants Nyan to see with her own eyes the current wretched state of the Black Mamba. That kind of useless person isn't worth her liking at all. The newly built lowest level is a prison cell. As a traitor, Yili is imprisoned in the deepest part of the cell. He is seen suspended by specially made shackles, which are also charged with 100,000 volts of high-voltage electricity. His body is covered with puncture wounds. He hangs his head low, not moving at all, until the moment he sees Nyan. His whole body jolts violently, panic and pain surfacing in his eyes. Let her go. What are you going to do? Disregarding the intensified electric shock from his movement, he desperately roars. He thought the insane Longzhou was also going to torture Nyan. Any kind of punishment here would torture Nyan to death. Don't hit her, I'll take her place. The mere thought of Nyan being tortured makes Yili struggle to breathe from the pain. No matter what the punishment is, he is willing to endure it for Nyan. Even 100 times over would be fine. Seeing Yili's miserable condition, Nyan can't help but let out a cry and desperately lunges toward the cell. But Longzhou doesn't give her the chance, pulling Nyan back in one swift move. Yet the two still struggle desperately regardless, rushing toward each other. Stimulated, Longzhou laughs in extreme anger and sharply orders his subordinates to give 100 lashes. Since Black Mamba wants a beating, then let's grant him his wish. The sound of the whip, mingled with Nyan's screams, rang out. Yili, being punished, lowered his gaze and endured it. Not even a muffled groan escaped him. Seeing Nyan's grief-stricken and miserable state, Longzhou felt extremely agitated. Punishing Black Mamba not only failed to ease his mood, but instead had the opposite effect. Give me a kiss, and I'll let him go. Long Zhao found a way to back down. This wasn't an excessive request. If other Starpaths had caught Nyan Nyan, they likely would have devoured her completely already. Although Long Zhao spoke harsh words, he actually hadn't done anything. As soon as the words fell, Nyan Nyan unhesitatingly pressed herself against him. Watching Nyan Nyan suffer this violation right before his eyes, Yi Li, who could endure a beating without a sound, could no longer restrain himself, and erupted in a roar. A mere 100 lashes meant nothing to him. It wasn't worth Nyan Nyan doing this for him. A teardrop smeared onto Long Zhao's cheek, as if heavily striking his heart. Yet it caused his whole body to shudder violently. He ordered his subordinates to treat Black Mamba's wounds. Long Zhao sent Nyan Nyan back to the restroom and himself left hurriedly, filled with agitation. It was just a few lashes on Black Mamba. Yet Nyan Nyan cried like that. If things got truly serious, she would cry herself sick. It seems she really likes Black Mamba. The subordinate standing to the side pondered hard for a long while. He expressed, perhaps it's because the Black Mamba is quite gentle and tame in front of her. Females all like gentle and obedient males. As he spoke, the subordinate felt something was off and quickly shut his mouth. Such adjectives had absolutely nothing to do with Long Zhao. They could easily provoke him, who had just been disappointed in love. Sure enough, Long Zhao's crimson eyes fixed directly on him. The subordinate shuddered violently. But fortunately, Long Zhao did not take his anger out on him. He only sneered. Right now, he was already almost completely under Nyan Nyan's thumb. If he were any more gentle and tame, wouldn't she just ride right over his head? Putting aside her identity as a female, Nyan Nyan was merely his prisoner. He had already been more than lenient enough with her. He snorted coldly, I won't spoil her too much. The subordinate dared not refute, but inwardly he was grumbling. Not spoil her? What other prisoner eats and lives in more luxury than the leader himself? At that moment, Long Zhao suddenly spoke. Go give the Black Mamba an injection of an inducer. The subordinate looked utterly bewildered, because inducers were usually administered to females. Hardly any males had ever used them, because the effect of the inducer was too intense. Once injected, the male would completely lose all restraint, becoming as rough as a wild beast, easily traumatizing the female. Although I don't understand what Long Zhao is thinking, but his subordinates dare not question him. Long Zhao then gives a wicked, charming smile, since Nyan Nyan likes Black Mamba and is utterly obedient to him. Then let her witness the rough appearance of Black Mamba dominated by desire. A male injected with the inducer will not protect her, but will bully her fiercely. Nyan Nyan will surely come to hate Black Mamba because of this. Long Zhao is looking forward to it. A moment later, Nyan Nyan is brought to the cell again, and her heart is filled with anxiety. She always feels Long Zhao has ill intentions, but for a moment she can't pinpoint what's wrong. As soon as she sees Yi Li, she quickly runs to his side. However, Yi Li's expression is very uneasy. The effect of the inducer is gradually taking hold. He only feels a surge of heat rising within his body. He immediately urges Nyan Nyan to stay away from him. Nyan is greatly startled by him. But at this moment, Yi Li cannot gently coax her, struggling to endure the restlessness inside him. Seeing this, Nyan Nyan reflexively takes a few steps back, then realizes that Yi Li's condition is not intentional. His chest is heaving violently, as if enduring some kind of painful torment. He tells Nyan Nyan to leave quickly again. If she doesn't leave soon, his image will truly collapse. From the time they met until now in front of Nyan Nyan, Nyan Nyan has never seen Yi Li like this. He is very good at enduring, even if it were 1,000 cuts and 10,000 slices, nor would he show any sign of pain. But at this moment his expression completely changed. He stared fixedly at Nyan Nyan, his eyes filled with burning desire, yet he still roared for Nyan Nyan to leave quickly. Nyan Nyan finally realized something. She turned her head and glared at Long Zhao, only to meet his amused gaze. Everything was unfolding according to his plan. But the next second, the smile on his face instantly froze, because Nyan Nyan actually took the initiative to embrace Yi Li. Then, disregarding everything, she tore off her clothes, just as the two were about to act. Long Zhao's figure rushed over frantically. He angrily tore Yi Li away from Nyan Nyan, then injected him with a dose of aphrodisiac antidote. In the silent cell, all three were breathing heavily. Long Zhao's intense, hateful burning sensations stuck in his throat. Injecting the inducer into Black Mamba, was his most foolish decision. Not only did he fail to see the two turn against each other as he wished, instead he witnessed Nyan's intense feelings for Black Mamba. To make Black Mamba feel better, she was actually willing to endure anything, even right in front of him. He barely managed to bring Nyan back to the lounge. He himself immediately ran back to his room and injected several doses of medication to relieve the loss of control. But this medication was essentially drinking poison to quench thirst, unable to solve the problem like a female's soothing could. Each injection of the medication, the next time he loses control, it will come even more fiercely. Till 2 hours later, the crimson giant serpent quietly slipped into Nyan's room again. Nyan glared at this uninvited guest. Everything she experienced today made her deeply understand the meaning of the farmer and the snake. She kindly provided spiritual comfort to Long Zhao. But what she got in return was his malicious teasing. The little female's resentful gaze made the giant serpent shrink back a little. During the period of losing control, he had no memories as a human. He didn't know what he had done to upset her. After hesitating for a long time, he still moved closer to Nyan, trying to be affectionate. However, Nyan pushed him away irritably. The giant serpent was momentarily at a loss. Was she unhappy because of him? Suddenly and unexpectedly, Nyan saw the giant serpent suddenly go berserk, violently crashing against the wall. For a moment, it was practically earth-shaking. Seeing this, Nyan reflexively hid to the side. If Long Zhao crashed into her, with her physique, one hit would kill her. The guards outside the door heard the commotion and rushed in. But upon seeing their frenzied leader, none dared to step forward to stop him. Gradually, the massive body became covered in blood, and it seemed like a form of self-punishment, not an attempt to vent his emotions. She didn't know if it was an illusion, but Nyan felt he was filled with sorrow all over. Long Zhao in human form was indeed hateful, but the way he was now was truly pitiful. Nyan couldn't help but speak up to make him stop. The giant python, receiving the command, paused its movement. It truly ceased its frenzied actions. This shocking scene caused the subordinates to not believe their eyes, that their leader would actually submit to a female. Nyan turned to look among Long Zhao's subordinates, at one who seemed to hold a relatively high position. If I give him mental soothing, can you release Yi Li from the prison cell? That subordinate hesitated for a while. In truth, females who fall into the hands of space pirates have no right to make any decisions. But Long Zhao obviously had no intention of forcing himself on Nyan. Preferring to endure the pain and inject an excessive dose of medication, he made no attempt to lay a hand on Nyan. Anyone with eyes could see Long Zhao was unusual towards this female. After much hesitation, the subordinate agreed to Nyan's condition. Several minutes passed. Long Zhao, having broken free from his, returned to his original form. Then, he couldn't wait to kneel on one knee and lean close to Nyan. But Nyan was unwilling to engage in any more false pleasantries with him. She kicked him on the shoulder. The subordinates were shocked at the sight. This little female was simply seeking death. However, the kicked Long Zhao remained motionless. In contrast, Nyan felt as if she had kicked an iron plate. She couldn't help but let out a light hiss of pain. Under the tense gazes of the subordinates, Long Zhao raised his hand and grasped Nyan's foot. The subordinates thought their leader intended to twist it off, but Long Zhao gently pointed to his own face instead. Next time if you kick again, you can directly kick here, while holding Nyan's foot and stepping on your own face. The subordinates, seeing this, immediately panicked and retreated. Accidentally. Seeing the leader in such a humble state, they wouldn't be silenced, would they? Nyan was still displeased. Your subordinate just promised me, as long as I give you spiritual comfort, they would release Yi Li from the cell. Hearing this, Long Zhao's eyes instantly dimmed a bit. It's for the Black Mamba again. But he still maintained a gentle voice and agreed. When Yi Li came out, he felt it was hard to believe, constantly guessing in his heart. Did Nyan do something with Long Zhao for him? A deal so he couldn't hold back, and asked a guard he used to have a decent relationship with for information. The other whispered, it's because Nyan agreed to give the leader spiritual comfort. Hearing this, Yi Li's face immediately turned ugly, because ordinary spiritual comfort isn't much of a bargaining chip. Could it be the traditional, thorough kind of comfort? Thinking of this, he immediately wanted to rush out, but was pulled back by the guard. Behave yourself. That little female of yours was thoroughly worn out by the leader tonight. Already exhausted, don't cause her more trouble. What the guard said was very innocent. But to Yi Li. But in his ears, it was interpreted as another meaning. In an instant, he collapsed to the ground, utterly devastated. He couldn't protect Nyan Nyan. Instead, he became a burden to her. Was she injured then? Yi Li couldn't help but feel a lump in his throat. The guard shook his head decisively. Not at all. The leader is actually very docile in front of Nyan Nyan. Lying motionless on the ground. He even let Nyan Nyan step on his face. The more Yi Li listened, the more something felt off. After confirming repeatedly, he finally realized he seemed to have misunderstood something. On the other side, after learning that Yi Li had been released, Nyan Nyan was in a very good mood. However, recently, Long Zhao's loss of control had become too frequent. After another session of mental soothing ended, she couldn't help but ask, "Why do you lose control every day?" Long Zhao responded with a wicked smile, gently pressing her down beneath him. "Are you concerned about me?" As he spoke, he also kneaded her soft arm back and forth. The males in Nyan's household were all quite reserved. The leader had always been the one needed by their beastly nature had never been needed back like this. Being handled so boldly by Long Zhao, she couldn't help but give him an elbow strike. Unsurprisingly, the one in pain wasn't Long Zhao, but Nyan Nyan herself. Long Zhao helplessly massaged her elbow for her. "Didn't I teach you how to hit? I want to slap you in the face directly." Saying this, he brought his face close. Year after year, I only feel that his illness is not in the right place. Learning that Lung Cao was due to an injection of medication, when it frequently loses control, Nyan couldn't help but freeze. Is there really no solution? Hearing this, Long Zhao raised an eyebrow. Perhaps, if you give me a thorough mental soothing once, it might be fine. Seeing Nyan Nyan's anger at being teased, he quickly stopped and laughed heartily. Just kidding. Nyan Nyan didn't want to continue this topic with him. She expressed a desire to see Yi Li. Long Zhao firmly rejected her request. This bold little female. Once indulged, she rides right over his head. Nyan Nyan pouted, using silence to express her resistance. Long Zhao had never, with anyone else, been defied so many times. He gritted his teeth, struggling for a long time. But still don't want to compromise. His bottom line keeps retreating. Has already become a pitiful worm played within the palm of a female's hand. If this line of defense can't hold, next time will Nyan Nyan become even more presumptuous, proposing to sleep with Black Mamba. If Nyan Nyan gets pregnant with Black Mamba's offspring, will he also have to raise them? Actually, Long Zhao doesn't really mind raising Nyan Nyan's offspring, but his jealousy towards Black Mamba right now is at its peak. Doesn't want to see Black Mamba too smug and triumphant. In a couple of days, I can take you to see him. But only this once. Long Zhao makes a concession. Nyan Nyan also takes a step back. Nods, after all, being under someone's control now. Better not to push Long Zhao too far. Also doesn't know when the Empire will come to rescue her. And that trash star Emperor Black Wolf also doesn't know how he's doing. Thinking of this, Nyan Nyan glares at the instigator again. The atmosphere, which had just eased, freezes over once more. Long Zhao's heart skips a beat. Why is she angry again? After coaxing and pestering for a long time, finally manages to ask Nyan Nyan the reason for her unhappiness. Long Zhao is extremely helpless. I didn't hit him that hard. He won't die. Nyan Nyan is still angry. But he was even vomiting blood. Hearing this, Long Zhao smiles and grinds his teeth. Wasn't he the one who attacked me first? Not just Black Wolf. Black Mamba is the same. In both encounters, he only fought back. You can't possibly expect me to stand there and take a beating without retaliating, right? Nyan, feeling dazed, almost got tangled in his reasoning. After thinking it over carefully, she suddenly realized, no, if you hadn't captured me, they wouldn't have attacked you. In the end, it's still Long Zhao's fault. Long Zhao stopped arguing back. Instead, he directly admitted to being the villain. Then, he suddenly pinned Nyan Nyan down. The villain is going to bully you now. Caught off guard and pushed onto the bed, Nyan tensed up nervously. But after being tense for a long while, the other person just quietly nestled against her and fell asleep. Until the next day, they gradually arrived at a sea of crimson star sand. Back on his own turf, Long Zhao relaxed his watch over Nyan Nyan considerably, no longer overly restricting her freedom. Walking along the street, Nyan Nyan noticed that although the atmosphere here wasn't exactly peaceful, hot-tempered star pirates often quarreled and made noise. things usually didn't escalate into major incidents. Under Long Zhao's forceful suppression, the entire planet maintained order within chaos. There were even many elderly people who had settled here, and their faces were filled with happiness. It wasn't until later that Nian came to understand. Long Zhao wasn't as vicious and ruthless as the rumors said. Though he had a peculiar personality and enjoyed opposing the empire, he never killed innocent people indiscriminately. Instead, they harshly suppress, controlling a group of social unrest elements. Seeing the legendary SSS Glass female new Taoists, they're drooling with greed, but dare not overstep even half a step, only daring to secretly mumble a few words under their breath. At this moment, Long Zhao's figure appears. Now even the mumbling disappears. Sunlight spills over Nian's body, making her appear exceptionally beautiful and captivating. Long Zhao can't help but reach out to touch. Only Nian says something that chills his heart. I want to see Yili, you promised. Although Long Zhao's heart is sour and astringent, he can only helplessly compromise, despite having done enough mental preparation. Watching the two meet and immediately embrace tightly in front of his eyes, Long Zhao still feels restless and uneasy. After a few minutes, he finally can't bear it anymore. He hastily pulls Nian away and promises never to torment him again from now on. At this point, the one being tormented is not Black Mamba, but himself, although it was only a brief meeting. After confirming Yili is okay, Nian's mood also becomes much better. Seeing this, Long Zhao wants to eagerly ask for a little reward. Black Mamba has a jacket of yours. Hearing Long Zhao suddenly bring this up, Nian asks him blankly, what's wrong? Long Zhao then shamelessly speaks up, I want one too. I want the one you wear next to your skin. As soon as the words were spoken, Nian instantly blushed with embarrassment. You're dreaming. She had never seen someone so shameless. Long Zhao was just teasing her a bit. A coat will do, as long as it's something you've worn. If you don't give it to me, I'll just steal it myself. Long Zhao shamelessly used both soft and hard tactics. In the end, Nian could only give him a coat. Long Zhao took it, satisfied, and suddenly asked, do you want to return to the empire? After he spoke, Nian looked at him suspiciously. Of course she wanted to go back, but she wasn't sure if Long Zhao was up to some trick again. So she remained silent. Long Zhao pressed on, how was your life in the empire? Providing spiritual comfort for those unfamiliar members of the same sex. Was that also voluntary? As he asked, he carefully observed Nian's expression, wanting to get a truthful answer. I lived very well in the empire. No one forced me to provide spiritual comfort. Except for you. Long Zhao was immediately choked up. I didn't force you either. Nian certainly didn't look pleased. Indeed, he hadn't forced her, but he had captured her. Wasn't it precisely to get spiritual comfort? Long Zhao fell silent for a long moment, then shook his head, smiled, and left, returning to his room. Long Zhao sat there motionless. He could see that Nian truly wanted to return to the empire, because her important family was there. Her desire to return was very firm. It shows that the empire never mistreated her. He sighed with mixed emotions. It seemed he recalled something he deeply hated. He touched the X-shaped mark on his waist. Intense loathing flashed in his eyes. Towards the empire, he held no trust or goodwill. But since Nian was determined to return, then he would respect her wishes. Meanwhile, Nian lay in bed. Long Zhao's abrupt and puzzling question echoed in her mind. She didn't understand what he meant. As an SSS Glass female, Long Zhao's only life-saving medicine, how could he possibly be willing to let her go? At that moment, the giant serpent silently slipped in again, and directly, tentatively, coiled around Nian's body. Nian couldn't be bothered to push away this shameless snake. Just as she was about to offer mental soothing, she noticed something was off. Because today the black mist around the giant serpent wasn't very thick. Far from reaching a state of loss of control, Nian unceremoniously pushed him away, then crossed her arms and looked him over. For a moment, the giant serpent seemed guilty, but immediately resumed playing dumb. Nian directly called him out. Stop pretending, your symptoms have improved. You actually didn't lose control today. Seeing that he was completely exposed, Long Zhao had no choice but to revert to his original form. With Nian's coat, his emotions had calmed considerably, although he still relied on medication. But since he had decided to let Nian leave, Then he must borrow and sever her spiritual comfort. But he did not attempt to sell misery. Instead, he shifted the topic to this world. The farewell ceremony is about to end early. I will send you back to the Empire. After the words fell, Nayan looked shocked. This guy really is going to let her go back? Long Zhao concealed the lonely emotion in his eyes. He took out a specially made storage box from the space button. Inside were several yellow potions. Nayan didn't know what this was. But seeing Long Zhao seemed to want to inject it into him. So he began to struggle violently. However, Long Zhao was uncompromising. Quickly pushed the potion into her body. His movements were very gentle, almost causing no pain at all. But Nayan trembled all over, seemingly fallen into despair. Is it some kind of poison? Or an inducer? Looking at the little female full of fear, Long Zhao felt an indescribable sourness. This is just a potion used to improve physique. It took a lot of effort to collect the materials and make it. It is specifically to increase Nayan's lifespan. He lost the desire to explain. It seems Nayan has no trust in him at all. So he got up and left without a word. Nayan found that her body didn't have any intense reaction. Until the next day, she discovered that her whole body actually had a light and powerful feeling. Whether it was strength or various senses, there had been a noticeable improvement. Only then did she realize she had wrongly blamed Long Zhao. Thinking of the gloom Long Zhao showed when he left yesterday, Nayan's mood became somewhat subtle. Throughout the entire day, Nayan didn't see Long Zhao, so Nayan decided to go check on him. What if that guy got angry? And in a fit of rage, refused to send her back to the Empire. When Nayan arrived at his room, the air was filled with a strong smell of alcohol. Wine bottles lay scattered haphazardly on the floor, along with many used, out-of-control syringes. Looking at these syringes, Nayan felt a bit suffocated. In her impression, Long Zhao's body was exceptionally terrifyingly strong. But at this moment, there was a feeling he could die at any time. Then she suddenly heard from the bathroom a rough pant. Nayan hurried over to investigate. But upon seeing the scene before her face instantly flushed bright red. You pervert. Long Zhao was actually holding her coat. Long Zhao, interrupted in the midst of his excitement, was also greatly startled. However, all he saw was Nayan's disappearing figure, and the sound of a door closing. When Long Zhao came to find Nayan, a pillow was thrown right at his face. Long Zhao easily dodged Nayan. Her face flushed red. Give me back my coat. How could you use my coat to do that kind of thing? You big pervert. However, Long Zhao refused to return it to her. Your coat is very clean. Nothing got on it. Besides, I am a normal young male. Can't I solve my own problems? But he still lowered his head and admitted his mistake. Normally he wouldn't do this sort of thing. It was mainly to drown his sorrows with drink. And his mood was also very bad. It was under multiple factors that he indulged just this once. He never expected Nayan to catch him right in the act. Nayan was silent for a moment. Just take me back to the Empire. Then I won't hold it against you. Long Zhao agreed without hesitation. Yili must also go back with me. Long Zhao, however, shook his head. That won't do. It's not that I want revenge on him. It's that he killed many of the Empire's dignitaries. Although those people weren't any good, killing them is still a crime. The Empire won't easily let Black Mamba and you off. Going back would be seeking death. After these words, Nayan was stunned. She had actually overlooked that Yi Li was also a space pirate. From the moment Yi Li betrayed the Empire, it seemed they were destined to be separated. After a long while, Nayan looked up and asked Long Zhao, then, could you surrender to the Empire? If Long Zhao, with all his forces under his command, actively surrendered to the Empire, he would definitely be treated leniently. Yi Li, as one of them, could also keep his life. Long Zhao smiled helplessly. You want to use me as a shield for Black Mamba? Nayan blushed, feeling somewhat guilty, and thought for a long time. Finally, she thought of a reason. Your loss of control has already become very severe. To keep my spirit at ease, I need to take medication. After all, it won't hold up for too long. She painted a grand picture for Long Zhao. If you pledge allegiance to the Empire, I can regularly provide you with spiritual comfort. To be honest, Long Zhao was very tempted at that moment. But he still tried to maintain a trace of calm. He shook his head. Gently, he stroked Nayan's beautiful hair. Perhaps we will meet again in the future. That night, Long Zhao couldn't sleep for a long time. Even after sending Nayan back, He would continue to keep an eye on her at all times. If the Empire ever bared its fangs at Nyan Nyan, he would spare no cost to rescue her. He was Nyan Nyan's fallback plan. To increase the capital to oppose the Empire, he had to swallow up all the other Starway forces. Another 2 days passed. The magnetic storm really ended early. And Long Zhao did not go back on his word. He had already prepared a spaceship. Before leaving, he acted like a fussy mother, packing Nyan Nyan's luggage. He also packed some crimson star sand and a lot of that pink medication from Hai, placing them into Nyan Nyan's space button. He instructed her to inject 1 dose every 6 months, as it would be beneficial for her health. Finally, he took out a file folder and also placed it into the space button. This file can only be shown to the most trusted person. It's best not to hand it over to someone from the royal family. Nyan Nyan wondered what could be so mysterious. She thought, could it be that even Crown Prince Yandan isn't allowed? Lost in thought, Long Zhao took her aboard the spacecraft. Even after the spacecraft started, he did not leave. Nyan Nyan was astonished. Are you coming with me? Long Zhao raised an eyebrow. Why not? Have to see you safely back. What if we get caught? Long Zhao assumed a resigned expression. Then we surrender. As he finished speaking, Nyan Nyan's eyes widened, with both shock and surprise. But the next second, a particle beam suddenly pierced through the spacecraft. Under Nyan Nyan's panicked and horrified gaze, it struck Long Zhao's head with pinpoint accuracy. The spacecraft shook violently as several figures swiftly closed in. The rivals were His Highness the Crown Prince, Marshal Reed, Major General Yuzan, the Empire's richest man Nan Li, pharmacist Kai Ing, diplomat Bei Kang. All of Nyan Nyan's males were now in position, yet Nyan Nyan stood rigid, staring fixedly at the wreckage. But as time passed, Long Zhao's figure never stirred to rise. Nyan Nyan's mind went blank, her voice trembling. He didn't even get a chance to surrender, and was just killed like that. Aren't you supposed to be amazing? Why couldn't you dodge the particle beam? Tears as large as beans kept falling. She raised her hand to rub her eyes. But suddenly, a familiar voice came from behind. Are you crying for me? In an instant, various weapons were aimed at this emerging figure. Nyan Nyan sharply turned her head. A completely unharmed Long Zhao was looking at her with smiling eyes. Even though a group of males pointed their weapons at him, he showed no fear at all. Seeing the little female who was grieving for him, he felt completely satisfied. With no regrets even in death, Lai Di stared at Long Zhao, quickly making a judgment. The android Long Zhao then smiled slightly. Your Excellency Marshal has a keen eye. Hearing their conversation, Nyan Nyan's heart, which had just settled, tightened again. The one in front is an android. Then who was the one just killed? That one was also an android. Don't worry, Long Zhao approached Nyan Nyan, wanting to wipe her tears, but was stopped by several vigilant males around Nyan Nyan. Nyan Nyan frowned. She couldn't tell that the Long Zhao in front of her was an android, just as she hadn't realized that the one killed earlier was also an android. Whether in every movement or tone of speech, there was no difference from the real Long Zhao. As if sensing her confusion, Long Zhao considerately answered her doubts. It turned out these 2 androids were installed with neural control systems, all remotely operated by him personally. So the one Nyan Nyan was talking to was also him personally. It was like 2 avatars of him, completely different from ordinary bionic humans. Hearing this, Nyan Nyan stared at the bionic human in front of her for a long time, confirming that Long Zhao really wasn't dead. Only then did her tense emotions finally relax. But then she gritted her teeth in renewed anger. She had been tricked by this hateful guy again. Her sadness just now was simply a waste of emotion. Long Zhao proactively lowered his head to admit his mistake. He hadn't informed Nyan Nyan about the bionic human in advance. It wasn't that he didn't trust Nyan Nyan, but rather he had anticipated such a death act would be staged. He wanted to take this chance to test Nyan Nyan, to see if she felt even a little bit reluctant to part with him. The result of the test far exceeded his expectations. Long Zhao's heart was struck by a strong sense of delight. Next time we meet, I'll be at your mercy. The always dominant leader of the Star Path willingly knelt beside the little female's feet. Nyan Nyan, however, glared at him angrily. But she didn't say words like never wanting to see him again. Long Zhao couldn't help but laugh. The soft-hearted little female was really too adorable. The males present couldn't describe the feeling in their hearts. Ever since discovering Nyan Nyan had been captured by Long Zhao, they had been constantly worried and afraid. They simply didn't dare imagine how Nyan Nyan might be hurt by Long Zhao. They never expected that the two of them actually had this kind of interaction pattern. Nyan Nyan wasn't afraid of Long Zhao, and even dared to lose her temper with him. This shows she didn't suffer much at Long Zhao's place. That's a good thing. But she is saddened by Long Zhao's death. It shows she developed feelings for the star pirate leader. That's a bad thing. At this moment, Kaying embraces Nyan Nyan. Having lost Nyan Nyan, he blames himself so much he wishes he could die to atone. His eyes are completely bloodshot from staying up. Nyan Nyan intimately coaxes the self-blaming snow wolf and appropriately leans in to give him a kiss. Seeing this, Long Zhao, the smile on his face slowly freezes and his mood instantly plummets from the clouds to the depths. He also imitates Kaying's tone and calls out intimately. However, Nyan Nyan doesn't want to pay him any attention. Long Zhao still wants to keep trying. But the next moment, he is handcuffed by Ryder. A bionic human doesn't have much value for detention or interrogation. But after all, they still pose a certain level of danger. And he actually, right in front of him, boldly tried to seduce his female. As if he were dead. Long Zhao behaves very cooperatively. He doesn't care how he will be dealt with. His gaze remains fixed on Nyan Nyan. Nyan Nyan looks him up and down, scanning his disheveled, handcuffed appearance. Even though she knows he's a bionic human, she still feels an inexplicable sense of pleasure. This detestable fellow should be firmly locked up. To behave a little more honestly, Long Zhao sees right through her little mood. Do you like seeing me like this? Truly a little pervert. But it's okay. I am willing to accommodate any of your preferences. The android body still isn't real enough. Next time you can tie me up. His voice was annoyingly smug. This caused Nyan's face to instantly flush red. However, Long Zhao, who was being cheeky with his words, soon paid the price. He took a solid punch from Ryder. Because the android is controlled by a neural control system, the pain sensation is also fed back to Long Zhao's side, just as he was being beaten. It was the same. Nyan Nyan realized this and hurriedly stopped Ryder. Although she couldn't help but plead for Long Zhao, she still didn't want to see him wear too smug an expression. So she simply buried her head in Kaying's embrace. The Empire's new ship returned. The news of the successful rescue of the SSS-level female quickly spread throughout the entire Empire. For a time, the whole nation went wild. After arriving home, Nyan was taken by the males for a physical examination. But after the results came out, Yuzan was greatly startled. Have you come into contact with anything special recently? All of Nyan Nyan's bodies, various metrics compared to the past, have actually all doubled in growth. Nyan Nyan remembered inside the space cow. There were all sorts of things Long Zhao had packed for her. Long Zhao injected me with a dose of medicine. And also this file. He said it can only be shown to people I trust. Upon hearing that Nyan Nyan had been injected with an unknown substance, Yuzan was greatly alarmed. He no longer cared about the document folder. He hurriedly took the potion to be tested. It was only after repeated testing that he discovered it was a false alarm. This potion was not harmful to the body. It was only beneficial. It contained several rare ingredients. One could say they were priceless and unavailable on the market. This was truly beyond Yuzhan's expectations. You must know, if this potion were injected into Long Zhao himself, it could completely give him an extra lease on life when he was dying of illness. Yet now, he had so generously taken it out and given it to Nyan Nyan. Yuzhan frowned. His gaze slowly fell upon the document folder. However, after flipping through it, his expression grew increasingly grave. This turned out to be the record file of an illegal laboratory. This laboratory was attempting to artificially create high-level females with S-rank or above psychic abilities. Yuzhan read it with fear and trepidation. This file was not complete, but there were indications within it that Nyan Nyan might be a test subject. Seeing this, Yuzhan trembled. He hurriedly found the other few males. Nyan followed and walked into the living room. At a glance, she saw the tall and straight black wolf. Both surprised and delighted, she rushed over, wanting to hug him. However, the black wolf stiffened all over. Lady Nyan Nyan, please maintain your dignity. His entire demeanor was polite yet distant. He bowed his head in salute to Nyan Nyan. Lady Nyan Nyan, I am Zhang Yuan. Year after year, she stared at him blankly. You've regained your memory. The other person hesitated, then nodded. He remembered his own identity. But the memories from the garbage planet had grown hazy. He had forgotten everything about Nyan Nyan. Relying on old George's description, he managed to piece together a few fragments. Yet no matter what, he couldn't believe that he had actually fallen in love with a female at first sight. And this female was Yan Tan's intended partner. He was practically going mad. His family had been closely tied to the royal clan for generations, serving as a hidden blade for the royals. And he was actually a childhood playmate who grew up with Yan Tan. But their relationship was terrible, each looking down on the other. The thought of sharing a wife with Yan Tan made him feel utterly shattered just imagining it. Since he and Nayan hadn't yet reached the stage of confirming a romantic relationship, it was better to let this absurd relationship end right here. From Zhang Yuan's attitude, Nayan understood his meaning. So she considerately took 2 steps back to keep her distance, only to accidentally retreat right into Yan Tan's embrace. His Highness the Crown Prince naturally wrapped his arms around his beloved little female, then glanced at Zhang Yuan with a faint, mocking smile. This foolish black-furred wolf was truly bringing trouble upon himself. Sooner or later, he would weep bitterly with regret, facing the provocative gaze of his longtime rival. Zhang Yuan couldn't help but clench his fists. It seems there is no reason for his existence here. He doesn't know why either. He would eagerly come running to see Nayan. After cursing himself in his heart for being sick, he lowered his head and bid farewell to. The file was passed around among the males. The atmosphere in the living room grew increasingly heavy. Ryder noticed the shadow of a royal member within it. So he handed the file to Yan Tan, thinking of Long Zhao's words. Nayan didn't know whether she should stop it. Yan Tan looked at the file, thought for a moment, and still decided to trust him. The Crown Prince flipped through the file. The smile on his face gradually faded. Regarding the identity of the culprit, he quickly formed a guess in his mind. But the more important issue at the moment lies with Nayan. If she really is an experimental subject, then she likely only has a few decades of short lifespan. At this moment, Yuzan realized those few doses of medicine were most likely used by Long Zhao to extend Nayan's life. But even so, it may not necessarily solve the problem of Nayan's lifespan. As long as there is a glimmer of hope, the Empire will exhaust all its power to save the life of an SSS-level female. But a few decades is too short. They are afraid it will be difficult to achieve results in time. The entire living room fell into a stifling silence. Nayan looked at them in confusion, realizing the reason for their low spirits lies in that file. Although the males didn't want her to see, they couldn't resist Nayan's curiosity. Ryder gently held her in his arms. Don't be afraid, Uncle is here. No one can hurt you like that again. We'll solve the lifespan issue together. Even if we can't solve it, I will always stay with you. To die together with a loved one is perhaps not an incomplete ending. Nayan, who was looking at the files, looked up blankly. What's wrong with her lifespan? Before awakening, she thought she was human. Indeed, she had once worried about lifespan. But after awakening, she learned from the divine tree that she was actually a beastman. The lifespan of a female is not shorter than that of other beastmen. At this moment, Nayan suddenly understood something. You guys didn't think I was a test subject, did you? Everyone's gaze converged on her. Nayan felt a bit of pressure, but she still earnestly gave an explanation. But just talking obviously wasn't convincing. So, she revealed the divine tree mark on her chest. The divine tree sensed it and actively cooperated with her, turning into a branch of lush green color, landing in Nayan's palm. Nayan carefully explained slowly according to the timeline. Actually, I am a seed of the divine tree. If not for this branch as evidence, everyone would think she was telling a mythical story. But at this moment, it shocked everyone present. So the legendary beast god actually truly exists. A moment later, Haiyang heavily kneeled down to make a vow. I am willing to follow Nayan forever. Be loyal to her. Die for her. In the historical records of the Empire, in ancient times when some males courted females, they would make vows to the gods, swearing loyalty. This is the most solemn bonding ceremony between female and male. Upon hearing these words, Nayan also trembled all over, as if the connection between her and Haiyang suddenly deepened. If she is willing, she can control everything about Haiyang, including life and death. With Nayan's I accept. A burning sensation came from Haiyang's chest. A small sapling drifted into his chest. This is also the mark of officially being branded. At this moment, he had already reached a state of mutual understanding with Nayan. Seeing this, the other males were not willing to fall behind. They knelt to the ground one after another, vowing to offer their loyalty to Nayan. This is the status they have long dreamed of. More formal than registering a marriage in the system. After everything was done, Nyanian picked up the file bag again. Inside, she saw a test subject. The described physical characteristics matched Longjio very well, combined with the blood-red X-shaped mark on Longjio's lower back. She then realized that was the mark of a test subject. Now she wanted to go see Longjio. She finally understood. Where does Longjio's affection for her come from? It is probably a kind of special sentiment born from shared suffering. The males did not refuse Nyanian's request. They accompanied her to find the imprisoned android. Longjio discovered that Yan Tan was also among them. A pair of crimson eyes fixed intently on him. After a long while he slowly spoke. She still chose to trust you. Are you worthy of her trust? Hearing Longjio's pointed remark, everyone looked at Yan Tan. Yan Tan remained calm. The creator of the laboratory is Yan Zhuan. Right? Longjio then sneered, asking what you already know. He did not believe the royal family was completely unaware of its members' actions. He is the empire's esteemed Grand Duke, wielding significant influence. Even after later raising a rebellion and failing, he was not killed, but declared missing. However, in Longjio's view, this is very likely a means of the royal family shielding its own members. Yan Tan lowered his head and remained silent for a long moment. I'm sorry, I truly was unaware. This is a failure of the empire. Yet Longjio refused to continue communicating with him. He closed his eyes and sat there motionless, as if dead. Seeing this, Nyanian panicked and wanted to rush over. Yan Tan spoke up to reassure her, saying he was fine. He had just temporarily severed the connection with this android. Only through Nyanian's questioning did they learn this. Yan Zhuan is Yan Tan's uncle. Since his defection, the empire has never given up on hunting him down. The reason Zhang Yuan lost his memory and ended up on a garbage planet was because he found Yan Zhuan while on a mission, was injured by him. But in that battle, Yan Zhuan didn't come out unscathed either. After losing an eye, he fled in disgrace. Yan Tan's attitude is very resolute when it comes to enemies of the empire. Even if they are connected by blood, the royal family will never offer protection. But for Longzhao, verbal explanations are bound to be feeble and unconvincing. The android sat there, without the slightest movement. Nyan let out a sigh. She hadn't had the chance to clarify to Longzhao yet that she actually wasn't a test subject. During the visits over the next few days, what Nyan saw was an android as quiet as a corpse. It wasn't until the 5th time she found Longzhao that she finally managed to speak with him. After learning about Longzhao's past, she couldn't bring herself to be harsh with him anymore. Her heart ached for what he had been through. Nyan tried to clarify to him that she wasn't a test subject. However, Longzhao always wore a roguish, untamed smile, clearly not believing what she said. Nyan argued for a few more sentences, unsure of what to do with him. She hesitantly reached for a button, then slowly withdrew her hand. Next time we meet, I'll prove it to you. In person. However, Longzhao's focus wasn't on that. He is concerned about Nyan's promise of next time we meet. That word. The bionic's eyes are filled with longing. Next time we meet, I will kiss you. Nyan's face flushed red and she did not utter a word. As a special captive, the information about the Longzhao bionic has not been officially released. But somehow the news spread anyway. Even someone found that damaged spaceship belonging to Longzhao. In an instant, the news of Longzhao's capture spread to every interstellar pirate faction. Everyone in the shadows is getting restless. If anyone can swallow up Longzhao's forces, then they will be the new boss. At the same time, on the other side, Longzhao temporarily cut off contact with the bionic. After checking the movements of other pirate factions, he began to formulate a battle plan. The bait has been successfully cast. Soon, we can cast the net and reap the harvest. He called Black Mamba over and assigned him an important task. Yi Li, however, had a complicated expression. You trust me? According to his expectations, after Longzhao sent Nyan away out of concern, he would settle accounts with him later and deal with him, the traitor. Who would have thought Longzhao acted as if nothing had happened, still valuing him as before? Longzhao smiled and shook his head. Why wouldn't I trust you? The tasks I assigned you. You completed them excellently every time. Clean up all that trash. Only then can Nyan Nyan's safety be guaranteed. Charlie is definitely not the only guy who covets Nyan Nyan. He must strive to nip potential dangers in the bud, to round up all the other star paths in one fell swoop, to gather all forces. Then he will possess more capital to protect Nyan Nyan. Long Zhao's tone was very frank. Everything is to protect her. You can do it. Right. The falling out between Black Mamba and the others was for Nyan Nyan. Now, also for Nyan Nyan, they returned to a united front. Long Zhao raised his hand and clenched it into a fist. Yuli was silent for a long while, then also extended his fist and bumped it with his. That day, as soon as Nyan Nyan entered the bedroom, she discovered that all 6 partners were actually all there, being watched by so many pairs of eyes. Nervously and expectantly gazing, she subtly realized something. Unconsciously clenching her sleeves tightly. Nyan Nyan, who do you want to accompany you? High-quality males of different types, unobtrusively striving, displaying, each hoping to become Nyan Nyan's first choice. Since they have already become partners, Nyan Nyan didn't want to be overly coy either. But just whose nameplate to flip after all? This left her truly very conflicted. It seems no matter who she chooses, the others would be very disappointed. She stood there at a loss for a while, then softly called out Kaiying's name. As the words fell, Kaiying's face was full of disbelief. Happiness comes too suddenly. All along. He also feels he is not good enough. Nor does he know how to please Nyan Nyan. Simply cannot compare to these romantic rivals. Regarding this opportunity, although he holds a sliver of anticipation, he actually doesn't have much confidence. He pinched himself hard. Before he dared believe this wasn't a dream. The others all felt somewhat disappointed. But they could also accept this reality. After all, Kaiying was the first male to stay by Nyan Nyan's side, and also the first to pledge his loyalty to her. That he could receive Nyan Nyan's favoritism was also a matter of course. Seeing that Nyan Nyan did not intend to choose anyone else, they consciously withdrew. In the room, Kaiying and Nyan Nyan were left facing each other. It was so quiet that they could even hear each other's heartbeats. After a stalemate that lasted for a while, Nyan Nyan saw that Kaiying seemed to be waiting for her permission. So she took the initiative to hold his hand. In order to please Nyan Nyan, Kaiying had specifically studied a lot of knowledge, even paid to consult that well-known news shop on Taobao. But that was, after all, just theory. He couldn't completely control himself at all. Because until noon the next day, Nyan Nyan was still unable to get up. Yuzan worriedly gave her a checkup. Only after confirming she wasn't injured did he breathe a sigh of relief. Kaiying, on the other hand, hung his head low, receiving criticism from everyone. Nyan vaguely guessed the reason. But she didn't think Kaiying had done anything wrong. It's just that they might need more time to adjust to each other. When evening came, Nyan went to visit Long Zhao as usual, and told him the whole story from beginning to end, about how she wasn't an experimental subject. Hearing this, an irrepressible joy appeared on Long Zhao's face. You really aren't an experimental subject. I had even prepared to follow you in death. If that potion couldn't extend Nyan Nyan's life, then he would accompany Nyan Nyan to death. Being a pair of doomed lovers wouldn't be so bad either. After hearing this, Nyan Nyan was silent for a long time. She had always thought that Long Zhao's feelings for her stemmed from shared suffering. That after learning she wasn't an experimental subject, his attitude would change. But it actually wasn't like that. Thinking of this, Nyan Nyan's eyes became moist. What about now? Are you going to try hard to live a little longer? She was really worried about Long Zhao's words. A body that could collapse at any moment due to losing control. Long Zhao nodded firmly. Then he pulled her into his embrace. He really wanted to kiss Nyan Nyan's face, but he didn't want to use this bionic body to get too close to his beloved little female. Just then his gaze suddenly fell on the kiss mark on Nyan Nyan's collarbone. Long Zhao's body stiffened abruptly. He gritted his teeth and said, "Wait for me to come find you. If he doesn't hurry up soon, Nyan Nyan will even be carrying someone else's cub." Since the money Nyan Nyan earned from her previous live streams was simply unspendable, she established a foundation. Part of it was used to develop the garbage planet. The planet was cleaned up. Residents, including Old George, had already been relocated. Upon learning that Nyan Nyan had founded the foundation, they were all very willing to come work. At this moment, Old George was a bit nervous. He didn't know where to put his hands and feet. Before, he didn't know Nyan Nyan's identity. After learning she was an SSS level female, he almost fainted from shock. Nayan's attitude remained the same as before. Have your injuries all healed? Old George chuckled. All healed, just flesh wounds. Although my physical fitness isn't as good as that kid Black Wolf. But it's not bad either. Saying this, he turned his head to beckon Black Wolf. Nayan also looked in that direction. Meeting Nayan's gaze, the upright male awkwardly avoided eye contact. All his muscles tensed up. Nayan's feelings were somewhat complicated. Black Wolf, having regained his memory, his attitude towards her was completely different from before. But it's understandable. After all, the previous Grey Wolf had a brain injury, lacked common sense, probably didn't understand what liking someone meant. His confession to her actually doesn't count. But no matter what, Black Wolf desperately protected her, did her a great favor. Towards a benefactor, Nayan doesn't mind being overly warm despite a cold reception. She very enthusiastically called him over and fetched some drinks and snacks. Song Yuan, his whole body stiff, remained silent. Old George, seeing this, frustrated at his lack of progress, slapped the back of his head. What's wrong with you, kid? After regaining your memory, you've actually become less clever than when you had amnesia. Can't even try to please a female. What did you come here for today? Go help the little female with some work, quickly. And chat with her. Old George's voice wasn't low enough. Zhang Yuan's eyes flickered with embarrassment. Afraid Nayan had heard, he hastily stammered out. I don't like her. I came today to accompany you. I'm not here to see him. It's just that the voice grew softer as she spoke. Old George sneered, sizing up this Black Wolf who was full of lies. Clearly, just now his eyes were practically glued to the little female. And now he's putting on an act here. I don't need you to accompany me. You go on ahead. Old George waved his hand. As soon as the words were spoken, the young male looked anxious. I'm worried about you. You're not familiar with Central Star. I have to see you home. Nayan said. It's okay. I can take old George home later, it's on my way. Having lost his reason to stay, Song Yuan became dejected. He left, looking back every few steps. Seeing his pathetic look, old George was overjoyed inside. But mindful of the traffic officer behind him, he still decided to help this dumb Black Wolf. From what I know of this kid, he definitely still likes you. Old George said to Nayan with great certainty. He's just being stubborn. If you don't believe me, pay attention to your surroundings when you leave later. That kid is definitely lurking nearby. Nayan was half convinced, half doubting. Actually, it doesn't matter. No matter what, she would always consider him an important person. Back when she ended up on the garbage planet, at her most helpless moment, the Black Wolf picked her up and took her home. Later, he protected her even at the risk of his life. It was hard for her not to be moved. It wasn't until near evening, the two of them walked out together. At that moment, Nayan's gaze suddenly fell on a nearby bush, where half a tail of a hidden wolf tendon was exposed. Old George also saw it, and deliberately coughed lightly a few times. The wolf tail seemed to be startled, and immediately retracted again. But because the movement was too big, the entire bush rustled loudly. The atmosphere became somewhat awkward for a moment. The Black Wolf could no longer continue hiding, and could only slink out sheepishly. Nayan tried to hold back her laughter, but the curve of her mouth simply couldn't be suppressed. Seeing that this Black Wolf was almost dying of embarrassment, Nayan quickly gave him a way out. Were you waiting for old George? The Black Wolf, feeling guilty, didn't speak. Old George also struggled to hold back his laughter. I told you there was no need to wait for me. Let's go. After everyone waved goodbye, a full 10 minutes passed before Zhang Yuan finally calmed down. Old George wore a half smile. Are you coming again tomorrow? Zhang Yuan, feeling awkward, yet firm, nodded. He even made a point of waking up extra early the next day. This time, he felt he should take the initiative to greet Nayan when he saw her. After all, she was a female, and he should be polite no matter what. So, he secretly prepared several versions of a draft in his heart. But the moment he stepped through the door, his face instantly darkened. What are you doing here? Yan Tan, who was sitting right beside Nayan working, gave a slight smile. Of course, I'm here to keep me company. The tone of the crown princess was gentle yet firm. With just that one sentence, Zhang Yuan was choked and left breathless. All the plans he had made earlier were completely forgotten. Instead, Nyan greeted him with a cheerful laugh. I had no idea before. You and Yan Tan turned out to be good friends who grew up together since childhood. Hearing this, Zhang Yuan looked suspiciously at Yan Tan. The term good friends didn't quite fit between the two of them. Yan Tan then flashed her a perfectly flawless smile. I was just chatting with Nyan about some childhood stories. Zhang Yuan felt a chill run down his spine. He didn't believe it. That damn tiger would say anything good about him. He must have splashed plenty of dirty water on him in front of Nyan. Seeing his expression as if facing a great enemy, Nyan couldn't help but burst out laughing. Yan Tan only mentioned a bit about how they used to fight, painting for Nyan an image of a not very clever black wolf since childhood. Although they often fought, there wasn't any deep-seated hatred between them. In a certain sense, they could still be considered friends. Zhang Yuan blushed a little under their gazes, standing there somewhat at a loss. Yan Tan raised a hand toward him. Sit down, you're blocking some of the light. Hearing this, Zhang Yuan was about to flare up. You tell me to sit and I just sit? But before the words could leave his mouth, Nyan brought a stool over for him. Seeing this, Zhang Yuan immediately lost the displeasure on his face. Is there anything I can help with? Nyan smiled and shook her head. No need, just rest. With nothing to do, Zhang Yuan placed his hands on his legs and sat there upright and proper. Within a few minutes, his gaze couldn't help but drift toward Nyan. Just as he was watching intently, he suddenly heard a light cough. Snapping back to reality, he met Yan Tan's half-smiling gaze. If you're so free, sort out this stack of documents. In the past, he would have started a fight with Yan Tan first. But now, in front of Nyan, he had to try hard to maintain a good image. Zhang Yuan took the documents. Even though work occupied his mind, his attention still wasn't fully focused. If there was the slightest movement from Nyan's side, his eyes would immediately be drawn. She took a sip of water. She glanced at him. She stood up. She was walking over. Zhang Yuan took a deep breath and immediately lowered his head, pretending to be seriously reading the documents, listening to Nyan's footsteps gradually approaching. He tensed up nervously. A faint, fragrant breeze brushed past him. Only then did Zhang Yuan realize that Nyan was going to find old George. She had just passed by him. A subtle sense of loss lingered in his heart. It wasn't until noon, Nyan brought him a few of his favorite braised pork buns. Your taste shouldn't have changed, right? Zhang Yuan's face flushed red. He indicated it hadn't changed. Taking a bite of the steaming bun, his low spirits immediately soared. The braised pork bun was indeed his favorite flavor. He even began eating with unusual delicacy. Unwilling to finish the buns Nyan gave him in one go. But as soon as he looked up, he actually saw Yan Tan and Nyan snuggled together, eating intimately in a close atmosphere. The bun in his hand instantly lost its flavor. Throughout the meal, Zhang Yuan's mood could be described as tumultuous. He tried hard to shift his attention away from Nyan, preparing to numb himself with work. But then he suddenly heard Yan Tan's voice. Take a nap. Nyan. Zhang Yuan suddenly looked over. He saw Yan Tan transform into his beast form. Then, shamelessly, he nestled in the little female's embrace. Nyan, meanwhile, took a comb and repeatedly massaged his head with it. The comb teeth gently scratched through his fur, and the big white tiger squinted his eyes in comfort, even letting out a lazy purr from his throat. Zhang Yuan stared blankly at the scene, his heart in utter, extreme disarray. Sensing his increasingly burning gaze, the white tiger opened his eyes and cast a mocking glance at him. As if to say, jealous? Zhang Yuan gritted his teeth in fury. He doesn't even care for the petty scheming of words and vying for favor. It's just grooming, isn't it? What's there to envy? He tried hard to appear indifferent. He turned his head away, no longer looking in that direction. Yet, though his eyes could avoid looking, his ears were still perked up high. He couldn't help but secretly wonder, what does grooming actually feel like? The little female's embrace must be fragrant and soft. His every move was gentle to the extreme. He even softly coaxed the white tiger, sleep now. I'm holding you. The more Zhang Yuan listened, the more unsettled he felt. Under the intense emotional stimulation, his not-so-clever mind finally turned a corner. What does his liking for Nyan have to do with Yan Tan? Even if he has forgotten the memories of being with Nyan, all it takes is a single spark for his heart to reignite. Thinking of this, he suddenly pounced to Nyan's feet. Nyan was startled by the sudden touch. She still wasn't used to calling the Black Wolf Zhang Yuan's name. She was more accustomed to calling him Black Wolf. Black Wolf then let out a very obedient, soft whimper. In an instant, Nyan felt as if she had returned to the days of living in the basement before. A familiar feeling welled up in her heart. Nyan couldn't help but look nostalgic. She thought Black Wolf had come over looking for Yantan. But the other stammered out a sentence. "I like you." As the words fell, Nyan widened her eyes in surprise. With old George's reminder. He already knows in his heart. Black Wolf's feelings for her haven't changed. Perhaps because he lost that segment of Mem. Ori and is unfamiliar with her. That's why it seems so awkward. She originally planned to gradually get closer to Black Wolf, but never expected his confession to come so suddenly. The white tiger nestled in Nyan's arms slowly opened its eyes and began to emit a hostile aura towards Black W. And this is usually a signal to pick a fight. Black Wolf also reflexively bared his fierce expression, startling Nyan, who for a moment didn't know what to do. She looked towards old George for help, while Black Wolf, mustering his courage, continued his confession. "Can I be your partner?" As the words fell, old George beside them awkwardly covered his face. He simply couldn't bear to watch anymore. This foolish lad. How can he ask so bluntly? For a female, you must use every trick in the book to please her. Only then might you get a slight chance. This Black Wolf has been performing so poorly lately. Yet he dares to court directly without any preparation. He had already foreseen the miserable side of the Black Wolf being rejected. However, what shocked him was Nyan actually nodded in agreement with a smile. Yantan couldn't sit still anymore, staring at the Black Wolf with a face full of resentment. This guy really has the luck of a fool. But considering how he desperately protected Nyan before, we'll let it go for now. The person involved just stood there foolishly in a daze, simply unable to believe that his confession actually succeeded. By the afternoon, he followed Nyan back to her home. Nyan would confess to every partner her identity as a child of the sacred tree. And once they become partners, they will all bear her mark. Zhang Yuan seemed to have heard a magical story from her. But without any hesitation, he knelt down with a thud. Nyan was startled by the solid sound of him hitting the ground. After a brief ritual, a small sapling mark was branded on the Black Wolf's chest. At this moment, he truly belonged to Nyan. Even Yantan accepted. The Black Wolf entering the household. The other males had even less objection. After the meal, all the males turned into their beast forms. They surrounded Nyan in the middle, coaxing him to be happy. Nyan in turn groomed each of them. Since Zhang Yu had just entered the household, they hadn't had time to prepare a brush for him yet. He could only lie listlessly on the ground watching. And Yandan nearby actually added fuel to the fire, transforming from a big white tiger into a little white cat, insisting that Nyan groom him again. At the same time, he glanced sideways at the Black Wolf. Some people couldn't even get groomed once, while others were getting groomed a second time. The Black Wolf burned with rage. This guy was definitely provoking him on purpose. At that moment, Kaiying suddenly offered, "You can borrow my brush for him first." After he spoke, Nyan was very surprised and dotingly ruffled his head. After spending a long time together, he had come to recognize Kaiying's jealous nature. When necessary, he could still be tolerant and generous. Perhaps because they were both wolf-type beasts, Yang and Zhang Yuan got along very well. Similarly, they both didn't get along with Yandan. Although in front of Nyan, they tried hard to restrain themselves. Behind his back they often fought noisily. Nyan noticed and secretly observed a few times, confirming they kept boundaries with each other. He chose to turn a blind eye. Fighting within limits might also be a way to deepen their bond. The Crown Prince fought 1 against 2, though he couldn't gain much advantage. But he did not fall behind until a few days later. Finally, Nyan relented, allowing the males to enter his bedroom. Yantan waited with full anticipation for Nyan to choose him, only to find that Nyan had picked Yuzhan's token. And so, he finally couldn't hold it in anymore. Nyan held the aggrieved, fur-buffed little white cat in his arms, frantically rubbing him, promising to choose him next time. He was selecting people according to the order of when they met and got together. After Yuzhan, it should have been Ryder. But because of the matter concerning Yan Zhuan, he personally set out to pursue and capture him. So Yantan, who was further down the list, could move up early. Except for Yuzhan, who was prepared to stay. The other males all left the room. Zhang Yuan looked at Yan Tan speechlessly, directly cursing him for being shameless. He knew this guy had two faces, but he never expected that he would actually throw a tantrum in the little female's arms, seeking affection. However, the crown prince didn't care at all about his verbal attacks. What do you know? This is exactly the way Nyan Nyan likes him. Inside the room, Yuzhan gently squeezed Nyan Nyan's small hand. Nyan Nyan was a little nervous, but it was a bit better than when he was with Kaiying. Kaiying had a somewhat impulsive personality, but Yuzhan had always been very calm and gentle. Little did he know, Yuzhan's gentle image completely collapsed at this moment, and he was never a docile sheep to begin with. The next few days, Yan Tan had been overwhelmingly busy, because Ryder tracked Yan Zhuan all the way to the border, and discovered some restless movements in the neighboring country. It seemed they were colluding with Yan Zhuan. The marshal's judgment naturally carried great credibility. The empire formulated various contingency plans, and dispatched reinforcements to the border. He had been working overtime for several consecutive days. On this day, Yan Tan was fortunate enough to sleep in. He had a beautiful dream. In the dream, Nyan Nyan was holding him. This made him feel extremely happy. When he woke up, he actually saw the moving, sleeping face of the little female next to him. He thought he wasn't fully awake yet, until he realized the sensation was overwhelmingly real. Nyan Nyan opened her eyes and gave him a sweet smile. Only then did Yan Tan gradually come to his senses. Nyan Nyan had actually taken the initiative to come find him. In an instant, an unmistakable flashed in his eyes. At the same time, on the other side, Ryder had just won a battle. His previous judgment was correct. Yan Zhuan and Lin Guer had indeed colluded. One wanted to borrow power to ascend the throne. The other wanted to support a puppet to control the Beastman Empire. Thus, the two parties, each with their own hidden agenda, formed an alliance. The adjutant beside him seemed somewhat worried. The allied forces were still on the way. He didn't know if they could hold out. Although they had temporarily repelled the enemy, the attacks from the Koga Federation were becoming increasingly frenzied. At that moment, a subordinate hurried in to report. A group of interstellar pirates is approaching. Upon hearing this, the adjutant couldn't help but utter a curse. These damn guys really know how to pick the perfect time to cause trouble for them. Could he really hold out until reinforcements arrived? Ryder narrowed his eyes, staring at the image displayed on the detector. On those starships, he saw the emblem belonging to the dragon shark. He shook his head. Stay calm. They might not be enemies. Hearing this, the adjutant was completely baffled. Not enemies. Then could these pirates possibly be here to help them? In his opinion, it was best to strike first. However, Ryder vetoed his suggestion. Just keep watching for now. The adjutant was half convinced, half doubting, vigilantly monitoring the movement of these pirates. Unexpectedly, the interstellar pirates did not attempt to land on this planet. They even maintained a certain distance. A night passed. Nothing happened. Till the next morning, the alarm for an enemy attack sounded. The previously quiet space pirates also began to move. Seeing this, the adjutant was greatly alarmed. He had said these guys were definitely up to no good. Just as he was about to report to the marshal, he was astonished to find that the space pirates actually bypassed them completely and launched an attack towards the Koga Federation. The Koga Federation, completely unprepared, was caught off guard. Witnessing this, Yang Xuan was utterly dumbfounded. Where did these lunatics come from? They are the Star Path. The Empire is in trouble. It would be one thing if they didn't take the opportunity to add fuel to the fire. How could they suddenly intervene? On the other side, Long Zhao is negotiating face-to-face with Marshal Ryder. He didn't waste many words. For Nyan Nyan, he could submit to the Empire. But there is only one request. That is to personally kill Yan Zhuan. Ryder had no objection to this, considering the deep-seated hatred between Long Zhao and Yan Zhuan. It is reasonable for him to do it. In this battle, the Koga Federation retreated in a panic, utterly defeated. Because of Long Zhao's defection, his android was also released. When Nyan Nyan hurriedly arrived, she met his smiling gaze. It seemed Long Zhao was specifically waiting for her. Are you here to take me home? He still had that unserious demeanor. As soon as they met, he moved closer to Nyan Nyan. After taking this android home, you can hug it at most. You cannot do anything else. Even if you miss me, you have to wait until I come to Central Star to find you. Then you can do whatever you want to me. After speaking, Nyan Nyan, blushing, pushed him away. You're not my partner yet. Long Zhao savored her words and revealed a satisfied smile. She said not yet. That means it could be. Nyan Nyan couldn't help but ask him about the situation at the front lines. Are you and Uncle Ryder both safe? When can you come back? Long Zhao whispered comfortingly. With you waiting for me at home, I will definitely return as soon as possible. In war, there is naturally no absolute safety to speak of, nor can we predict exactly how long this war will last. Yanzhuan has not yet been handed over, which means the family federation still has treacherous ambitions, and they will certainly come back again. Having just returned home, Long Zhao was not the least bit polite. Where is my room? He looked around the manor and boldly requested to stay in the room closest to. But as soon as the words fell, his figure suddenly froze. Before Nyan Nyan could even react, she saw him suddenly stiffen, close his eyes, and completely lose all movement.